from now, it's got to be one like this where you go, that was the one where nothing was the same after that. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, you're right. And everybody, including some of the players, Jerry, and I'm sure you and me and everybody else, had to be thinking when, as soon as Travis Benjamin caught that touchdown pass with a 1:09 left.
Too much time.
Oh, no.
We scored too fast. Yep.
I laughed till my sides hurt because I'm watching Twitter at that point, and my friend Rich Swerbinsky, who's the founder and owner of the Cleveland fan website, tweets right at that point. He says, if they lose this game on a last-second field goal, I'm going to set a car on fire. And I just, because that every Browns fan probably felt the same way.
You saw it coming.
Oh, my God, this is setting it up for disaster. And because we've just been down that road so many times. But, yeah, even the Browns couldn't make that happen, and they closed it out, and it was satisfying as hell. But, I hope you're right that because the table, like John and you have said, the table is set right now with the Steelers and then 3 bad teams, 2 of those games at home, Raiders and Buccaneers, and Jags on the road after the Steeler game. If we had even whispered 6-2, before the season started, we would have been laughed at, and maybe people will still laugh at that. But if they can beat the Steelers this week and go 3-2, you've got to believe the team will be supercharged emotionally and with confidence going into 3 games against very, very beatable teams, with 2 of those 3 at home.
And number 12 looming just beyond the horizon after that, potentially, too, man. I mean, like John just said, it's just something fun for Browns fans to enjoy today, is assuming everybody stays healthy. Think about how much better this offense can still get, how much room they've still got to grow. I mean, if you're going to have problems with the defense, it's better to have them when you have an offense that can also put up some points, because then at least you still have a fighting shot, with the Browns
right. Well,
previously.
I'm not sure how many points the Browns have averaged the last couple of years, but I know it's in the teens. It's in the neighborhood of 14.
Yeah, they're 15, at 27
something
this year,
like that.
man.
They're at 26, I think, right now. On average, it was 25 before they scored 29 yesterday. So
they've been
I
at
think
17
probably up around that.
For the last few years. They've been around 16, 17 points a game for the last couple of years.
So you're averaging almost 10 points more than that this year, and that's huge. That's a touchdown, a field goal every game, and you're going to win more games than not if you can average in the high 20s in the NFL.
For sure. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan joining us here, and we'll see, man. This week you've got the Steelers. It's their chance to keep it going, or people can go 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We'll find out, man. Cannot wait. I know you're going to be there, fired up. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday. We can really start focusing on the Steelers. All right, let's just go perfect for the weekend. Buckeyes. I prefaced this with what I said several times earlier in the show, previewing our talk, which is I am that guy. And I saw Ari Wasserman today in the Plain Dealer admitted that he was the same kind of guy that I was. After that loss earlier, you start wanting to be the guy that figures out how many more games the Buckeyes are going to lose. You start looking for upsets so that you could say, ooh, I had a feeling about that one. Cincinnati, Maryland. I mean, but instead, the Buckeyes have turned on the juice offensively with these massive, and I know it started with Kent State, but some massive offensive production for the Buckeyes, and that offense is really humming. And it seems like maybe a bad week to have the bye week because you got it humming so much, you want to keep throwing it right back out there.
You're right, and Urban Meyer said as much after the game Saturday. He said, I don't want a bye week, and Maryland has the same thing coming up, and they're glad to get one, and Meyer doesn't want one, and for obvious reasons. The best thing about it is, they had one defensive breakdown where they let a guy go on a smash route and had a missed coverage on it, and they gave up a 60-yard pass play. But that was basically it. They were not hurt by the Maryland offense. C.J. Brown obviously went out. He was actually sat down by the coach. So there wasn't a whole lot that they could do. The Buckeyes played much better defensively, and we continue to watch the evolution of J.T. Barrett. I mean, J.T. Barrett made some throws that Braxton Miller hasn't made in 3 years. There is no debate with Urban Meyer about who his quarterback is. If Miller is healthy next year, it's going to be Braxton Miller. But J.T. Barrett, the throws he made, the first one to Jalen Marshall, in the corner of the end zone, the longer one over the top to Devin Smith. A couple of those throws were just big time, especially when you start considering he's a freshman. He's up around 17 touchdown passes now in, 4 games. And, the competition hasn't been that great, but we're seeing a kid really show you an accurate throwing arm and a guy who's heady, who doesn't get rattled in the pocket, who seems to have a lot of composure and a lot of just good instincts to play this game. It's exciting to see because J.T. Barrett has a long time left in his Ohio State career to become one of the great ones.
For sure, and we've seen that here, and avoiding upsets big, as we've seen all the ones this weekend. We'll talk about that in the next little bit here, because things. I'm not going to go that far. Much like the Browns, you got to go one game at a time with everything. But I've been joking with some people over the weekend. I'm like, man, as one team after another starts to put a 1 in that L column there throughout the top 25, man, Ohio State may play their way back into the conversation by the time this season circles around towards the end. I don't know. I definitely want to see what they do against the couple rated teams they've got. Obviously, Michigan State, that stretch coming up is going to be huge. But they have, as teams are coming back to the pack, they've played themselves in. And Barrett, as you mentioned, been such a big part of it too. Ezekiel Elliott too, really beginning to flex those legs in the running game.
Yeah, he's looked very good. He's starting to come around, and one thing that you notice just about every time he carries the ball is the yards after contact. I mean, he does not go down when the first guy hits him. He's He's a guy that shows great balance and power. He's an intriguing back, and they've got 2 or 3 others behind him. Rod Smith has been getting a little bit more extended playing time than he's ever gotten in his first 3 years here, and he's been looking good. But Elliott, there's no mistaking that he's he's head and shoulders above the other running backs on this team, just because he also has unbelievable hands. He's caught a couple balls out in the flat that I had written off as incompletions because they were thrown low or a high or whatever, and he made some real nice catches. Shows really good skills as a receiver as well. So he's exciting to watch, and just a sophomore there too. So yeah, the whole team is very, very young. I don't anticipate the Buckeyes getting into the four-team playoff, but like you said, number 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, all lost. And then the 6 teams that were ahead of the Buckeyes, 14 through 19, all 6 of them lost. Buckeyes were 20th coming into this weekend, and all 6 teams ahead of them, the 6 teams immediately ahead of them, all went south. So a lot going on, and this whole thing is going to be flipped upside down. I heard another stat, Jerry, and you might be surprised to hear this, that last year, the 5 teams that finished in the final 5 in the AP rankings, only 3 of those 5 teams were not even ranked at the start of October last year.
Oh, I didn't
know
that.
That was very
sure,
surprising to me. I think the final 5 were, of course, Florida State and Auburn, and then it was Missouri, South Carolina, and Michigan State. And 3 of those 5, and I think it was Michigan State, even Auburn and South Carolina, I think, are the 3 of those final 5 that were not even in the top 20 at the start of October after the first 4 games of the season. So a lot can change between now and the end of the year, as happened last year. You could conceivably be looking at a Final 4 of Baylor, Mississippi State, Notre Dame, and somebody we haven't even thought about yet. So it's Marshall or something. Obviously Marshall can't get in, but there's an awful lot of football to be played, as they say. And even last year at this time, we had no idea who was going to be finishing in that top 5.
Right, and that's an interesting way to look at it there, because there's so much football left to be played. This thing could come full circle for several teams before we do. We're talking so much here about the offense. Let's talk defensively a little bit about the Buckeyes. When you've had issues in your pass defense, you've wanted to test it. You get passing teams, that gives you an opportunity to go out there and do it. This week, Buckeyes pull down 4 interceptions. Raekwon McMillan runs one back for the score. What was your takeaway of the Buckeyes defense coming with their play against the Terrapins here?
Well, they really struggled without Noah Spence to get a pass rush. although it was sort of a one-man pass rush this week. Joey Bosa, what a beast that kid is.
He's a man. He's a man.
He really
beast.
He is, as Urban Meyer calls him, he's a grown-ass man. That's the way
yes.
Urban puts it.
Yes, he is.
And he truly is. But and Bennett also had a nice ball game. The passes, a couple of them were tip balls. The one to Raekwon was a tip ball. But, they made some nice plays. Eli Apple had one in the end zone. And Darren Lee continues to just play very well. Haven't really heard yet. It looked like it was just cramps that took him out of the game. And that was pretty much confirmed later. So I don't assume that'll be any kind of a long-term thing with him. But he had a real nice interception and turned around and fumbled it. But Raekwon was Johnny on the spot to pick it up. And pass defense looks better. I'd say it was really the one broken play, the one blown coverage, if you want to call it that, where they gave up a long gainer. But in general, I think the defense is just playing better. The young linebackers and Lee and McMullen, of course, are both first-year starters, and Josh Perry has been solid and I think improved over last season as he's getting experience. So right now it's a matter of the young DBs, the young safeties, Von Bell, the young corners, Apple, Conley, Doran Grant has been pretty solid. At the other corner, he's the only senior out there in that secondary. But they're just going to have to continue to get better. They're not at the level where they want to be. After the game, Urban says, we're not playing championship-level defense, and, where we can't take ourselves too seriously until we start playing better on that side of the ball. But, boy, the offense is a machine, and they're averaging 44 or 45 points a game. And as long as you're doing that, you can afford to have some growing pains on defense, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was kind of saying about the Browns. I'm like, if you can continue to stretch your legs on that offense, it makes it a lot easier to tolerate a defense that's still growing and finding itself because, previously a team like especially the Browns, you fall down 14 points. That's it. You're not equipped to score more than 14, 17, maybe 20 on a good day. If you can put 30 on the board consistently, all of a sudden a good defense only needs to give up 24 points a game, instead of you got to hold teams to a touchdown or else you're going to lose. And you're seeing that here. They did a good job, too, against the pass, as you mentioned, not just the turnovers. Only, I think, 6 yards a pass was the average for Maryland on the other side. So really doing a good job containing everything. And as you said, offensively, not only scoring, but another clean game, no fumbles, no interceptions. And it all adds up to a victory here. And I'll circle back to what I said, man. Instead of them buckling, which I really wasn't sure, man, when you saw a young quarterback in there and everything, and you're off of a loss, an unexpected loss, and not only that, but the way you played in it. I mean, I've been expecting things to get worse, and instead, while there's still bumps and hiccups, there's still a lot to be worked on. At the same time, I am impressed with the way they've answered back, even if one of them was, a school like Kent State, since that loss to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, you're right. And like the Browns, the Buckeyes are coming into a spot on the schedule where they have, the next three games, as we mentioned the other day, they're all three 8 o'clock primetime ABC national TV night games.
Yep.
But they are all three against, very beatable opponents. You've got Rutgers, you've got Penn State, and Illinois. The game at Penn State is not going to be an easy game, but Penn State is not what they were cracked up to be at the start of the season either. They got beat by Northwestern a couple weeks ago, and their offensive line is just a mess there. I'm not sure that they can hang with the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes put 63 on them last year, and I don't think their defense is equipped to handle what they're going to face with Ohio State either. So that game will be, white out, Happy Valley, all the, night game, national TV, all the hype and hoopla. But I think once they strap up the chin straps, that the Buckeyes are going to feel what they're made of out there. And that's my hope, at least. But those three games, all night games, are leading up to the big game at East Lansing at Michigan State on November 8th, I believe it is. And if they win all three of these next three games, they will have tied the record for consecutive regular season Big Ten wins. And the trip to East Lansing would be an opportunity to break that record. So that's got the cart a little bit ahead of the horse, but it's conceivable that these next three games are winnable, and Urban Meyer could tie the conference record for consecutive regular season victories at 20. Got
That's
17 coming in. So
yeah, that stretch coming up. They got the bye week here, 2 of them in the